progress nonetheless.
I'm glad you brought up the yuan, because it was at a critical level. It started to fall and weaken and weaken and weaken. And what do you see? It was close to 7, I believe. And then they did intervene to stabilize that. And that's been the biggest complaint. Their weak currency makes their products so much cheaper for Americans, and our strong dollar makes our products more expensive. So we had this trade imbalance. Let's say we do get a deal. How do people invest on that prospect?
You want to invest in cyclicals, which have not outperformed for years. And I'm talking about industrials, things like the Dow. XLI is a good ETF. Banks will do well. KRE, we've talked about that on the show before. That's done well. And then also retail. Remember when Amazon was going to kill retail? Well, retail's done very well this year because the U.S. consumer is flush. Those are 3 sectors that should outperform if we get a U.S.-China trade deal.
We want to talk a little bit, and I know it's kind of wonky, but people should know that copper is a good predictor of what's happening in China. When it is weak, boy, that indicates that China is shutting down its growth, and the government tinkers with all of this. It's not necessarily the consumer thinking, oh, maybe we're going to have a trade war. We should hold on to our pocketbooks and preserve some dry powder here. Where do you see copper, and what can our viewers infer from that when it comes to investing around a possibility?
So those of us in the business call, and I know you know this, we call it Dr. Copper, because we say yes. Copper has a PhD in economics because there isn't global economic growth without the use of copper. Copper has been very weak lately. It forecasted the volatility we saw a few weeks ago. It is trying to stabilize now. Remember, China is actively trying to stimulate their economy right now. It takes time for that to occur, but in a few months it should start to take hold.
Tom Essay of the Sevens Report, thank you. It is yet another record day on Wall Street for the S&P, Nasdaq, and Russell 2000. I'll see you tomorrow.
And as we're seeing, everybody's cheering new records again on Wall Street. Stocks climbing today on optimism for a trade deal between the United States and Canada. The Dow ending the day up about 61 points. And it's also history for the S&P 500, Nasdaq, and Russell 2000. All are closing at new record highs for the 4th trading day in the row. I'm Christina Parts-Nevelis in for Melissa Francis.
We're not getting bored of all this winning. I'm David Asman. This is After the Bell. Glad you could join us. More on the big market movers. But first, here's what else we're covering for you in a very busy hour. You are looking at live pictures outside the U.S. trade offices where talks with Canada are due to resume within the next hour. Both President Trump and Canadian Foreign Minister